All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the weekly Subspace Developer Sync. Uh, Today we have some really exciting news. We have launched our Gemini incentivized testnet. Right now, it is in a uh, pre-reward stage, so we're allowing everybody to sync the blockchain history and create their plot, and you will be able to start producing blocks. However, you will not get rewards. We're going to be releasing an update on Thursday, um, which will enable rewards. So we're giving everybody a fair chance to get set up and get their node running before the actual rewards are issued. Today we're going to go through and let everybody get a chance to give their updates. Justin, if you would like to go first, please.
Yeah. Uh, so last week, obviously with incentivized testnet, most of my time was focused on working with the community team and the marketing team to prepare and clean up some of our materials for that launch. I've been working on updating Subspace Desktop, or testing Subspace Desktop rather, for the prior versions that we were getting ready prior to the new announcement as well. So far, so good on that end. That wrapped up early or late last night. And as far as Windows goes, that's testing out just fine. Moving forward, I'll be continuing to work on updating the documentation to match the new release. We'll have to cut a new version with the Gemini and everything. So that'll be a little bit more accessible for users, especially with all the different versions of documentation we're getting. I've noticed some slight confusion around the farming.md, so I think those docs will definitely be helpful as we start to see that increase. And moving forward into this week, we'll just be really focusing on supporting these users with the incentivized testnet and really hoping to keep wait times and everything like that to a very minimal, so that way users are up and running prior to rewards being enabled and everything like that.
Great, thanks, Justin. Did you get a chance to sync up with Wei in the last 30 minutes or so about the updates to the documentation?
He sent me a quick message, but I haven't had a chance to really talk to him face to face yet.
Nizar, do you want to review that and give Justin the feedback you gave Wei really quickly?
The version that there is right now on the forum?
Yeah, about not using the forum and using the GitHub in the interim until we update the docs on the website.
Yeah, so the documentation on the forum was a little bit outdated, and it also it just feels strange that we have forum, we have GitHub, and we have docs. So I think eventually everything should be in docs, but for now we've updated the link to include the farming docs on GitHub. It has been updated to reflect the latest changes, and we'll move that over to the docs with the documentation on the desktop app once it's ready.
Perfect. Yeah, I've had that feeling as well. It seems like it's a little confusing for users. They don't really know which is the official source. So I definitely agree that it'll help to kind of consolidate that.
Okay, great. So I think the takeaway is that as soon as we can, we just want to get it rolled into the docs.subspace.network. I know there's a manual update process there, Justin, but we'd like to get that done as quickly as possible today.
Will do.
Great. Okay, any questions for Justin? Okay, Ved, if you'd like to go next, and if you could just focus on the infrastructure side for incentivized testnet, please.
Yeah, so we have updated the Terraform to actually deploy all these 12 nodes. Right now we are running 12 nodes across 6 different regions, and all the RPC nodes and boot nodes are up. We have also got the Polkadot.js PR merged in with the regions associated with the URLs as well. I'm supporting Nazar today as well. If there is anything coming up with our recent announcement, something on the infrastructure side, I'm gonna take a look at them as well. If you have any questions.
Awesome, thank you, Ved. Appreciate all the help with that. And just so everybody's aware, we are running a dozen Bootstrap archival nodes. This is what farmers, new users are using to sync the network. We are encouraging everyone on the team and anyone in the community for that matter to run an archival node. However, if you are doing it over Wi-Fi, it will probably be very, very slow, and there is some manual configuration of the ports that you need to do as well to make that work. So it's a little bit tricky to set that up. It doesn't normally work by default for most home computers. And Justin, I believe you're aware of that, right? There was some documentation that we were, or like a post that we were going to be writing about that. We had discussed this with Wade the other day. I'm not sure if you had a chance to talk to him about that for exposing that board.
Yeah, we had mentioned it, and we haven't quite gotten further along on that process, but we'd have talked about it briefly.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be a priority for the next few days, is to get that written so that we can make it clear to users and to our team who wants to do that, how to easily run an archival node in a way that's actually helpful to the network.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Ved? All right. Thanks, Ved. Okay. So as we go through the rest of the team, guys, please try to keep your updates briefer, especially those of you that will be going into more detailed updates on the protocol sync. Just for, just to give everybody an idea of what we're working on, but we'll do the deep dive in the protocol sync. So let's see, Yvonne, can you go next, please?
Sure. So I guess my updates are kind of short today. Last week I just added, I just made a PR for the libp2p in order to add Snorkel keys in order to use that in our libp2p. Yeah, also we created a fork with that pair already merged, so that we could use that for our networking and DSN. So also integrated that into Subspace. Right now we start like each networking instance for each of the plot, so that they could in future be synced from the DSN. Yeah, and apart from that, I also created some work for the DSN syncing. That PR isn't merged yet. I guess we can discuss it in the protocol sync today. That's it from my side.
Okay, thanks, Yvonne. Any questions? Okay. Lu Cheng, you're up next.
Okay, sure. So last week, I firstly was working on moving the fraud proof verification to the client. It's almost half done. But later, I found out that the series test framework is kind of broken and is outdated during the previous major refactoring of the decoupled execution. So I decided to fix the test first. I have created a PR to upgrade the test framework. It's now waiting for the review. I also fixed a flaky test along the way during that PR. This week, I will continue to finish the client side for the verification. After that, I might start the refactoring for the multiple signal runttimes if we can have a proper design. Yeah, I think that is it.
Thank you, Lu Cheng. Any questions from the group? All right. Özkan, you're up next.
All right. So last week, Ivan and Diana discovered 2 bugs related to Subspace desktop. One of them is not that big of a deal. It was due to the rendering of the plot card. It is still important, but not critical for the functionality. The second one was actually a huge deal. We made an error relaying the plot size to the Subspace desktop. It was kilobytes instead of bytes. So we fixed that, and now farming works very fine. Both of these bugs are fixed, merged, everything is fine. Also, thanks to Ivan, we made a lot of debugging together and also updated monorepo dependencies for Subspace desktop. It's not in main yet. It's not merged. So I'm keeping that as a branch since we agreed on making a stable release of 0.5.2. I think it's stable. It worked in macOS. I believe it is working in Windows. Justin, can you confirm? Okay. In Linux, Ivan had a problem, but that was due to probably his connection issues because none of the code was Linux specific exactly. So I think it is stable. And now for the next plan, we can release the Subspace desktop after changing the some latest things like adding boot nodes and Schnorkel. And then we will be ready to release the Subspace desktop for Gemini. And along the way, Serge and Nazar had some PRs. I reviewed them, and a lot of testing as usual. That was my week.
Great, thank you, Özgen, and thanks for all the hard work on getting the desktop app bugs fixed. The focus for you and Yvonne and for Serge for the next 24 hours is just to make sure that we pull in all these changes. We're not going to be releasing 0.5.2. We're not going to make it a proper release on GitHub because we don't want to confuse users, because if they take that release, they're just going to be joining the old network. So we want to pull in these changes that fix the issues with the Schnorr signatures and that have the correct boot nodes and RPC nodes. Nazar will be available probably in a few hours to start helping with that. But the goal is to get that released by about this time tomorrow. And he will be dedicated once he gets finished with this conference. He will be dedicated to helping you guys get that release out as quickly as possible. We just need to make sure that once we do that, we expedite the testing and that we make sure that we have good communication with Justin and with everybody on the support team so that we can get that announcement out to the community as soon as possible as well.
Sounds good.
Great. All right, any questions for Özgen or anything about the desktop app? Okay. Serge, you're up next.
Yeah, so last week on Subspace desktop, I created a small PR to disable edit name feature because as we discussed, we need like a backend functionality to restart a node in order to work for it. Yeah, I will be waiting for the backend first and then we enable it back. Also, there was a small PR to fix typo. Someone created an issue on GitHub and that was already merged. And I created a minor PR to enable development tools for UI by default in the dev and debug mode. And on Subspace desktop this week, I will focus on the memory consumption issues that were created like a long time ago. Yeah, and on Relayer, so after our integrations meeting, I created an issue with some improvements, potential improvements on the Relayer UI. And I also created an issue for Relayer backend on how we could optimize the configuration management. And we had a discussion with Nadar, and yeah, I will create a PR probably after I finish the most critical tasks for desktop. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Serge. Any questions from the group? Okay, Shamil, you're up next.
Okay. I started to work on the get pieces by range method for the DSL network. Nazar approved my initial design with some simplifications. And I encountered some issues, but was able to make some progress on the implementation. Currently, I'm adding the request response protocol to our P2P networking stack. It's my plan for this week, and I will more details on the core protocol thing. That's it.
Thank you, Shamil. Any questions? All right, Daria, you're up next.
Oh, I have read the notes.
All right, sounds like Daria's having baby issues right now. We'll let her give her update in a minute. Okay. I think that's it. Any questions, any other topics to discuss before we close out? All right. Thank you everybody for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on the Incentivized Testnet and our announcements channel.